This is Awakening Dreams by Raw, a podcast about ordinary people living out their authentic lives true to their purposes. I'm your host, El Cheng, champion for authentic connection, where everyone deserves to be seen and heard. In today's episode, I'm very happy to welcome Wan Ting, who will be sharing her journey of dance, movement, and embodiment to come home to herself, the challenges and the gifts of this path. I'm super excited to talk to you. Welcome, Wan Ting.
Hi. Thanks for having me here.
Okay. Do you have a centering technique that you would like to guide us? And I'm actually pretty interested and curious if you have something that is more movement related that helps us ground us.
Right. So by centering technique, you mean something to kind of help us all arrive, right?
Correct.
Wow. I would love to do this in person through a video screen. It's gonna be interesting. So I'm just gonna kind of impromptu one, if that allow us, right? So I think the thing about embodiment, it's all about kind of where you are and where you feel. And if you feel uncomfortable, you kind of honor that. If you feel stuck, you kind of honor that. And it also comes to what you bring into the intention. So for me, I think maybe what I'll invite both of us to do is kind of just to arrive in this space. You can do this with your eyes closed. You can do this with your eyes open. It's okay. But what I'm going to invite both of us to do is just to kind of check in, however, where you are, and just to feel where you are. If your feet is on the ground, just let it there. If your feet is on the chair, just let it be there, and just kind of slow down and just pay more attention to that stillness that grows from within you. And if there are sounds around you, just kind of take it in without wanting to change anything. And just notice by paying attention to yourself what is different. If you feel tightness in your body, sometimes what can happen is that you may feel even more uncomfortable as that tightness kind of takes up all of your thought space, right? But what I want to invite you to do, if there are tightnesses in your body, just kind of breathe into it and to move into it. You know, the greatest thing about movement is you can move it out. If you feel uncomfortable, move it out. Breathing is a great technique, but if our bodies is already holding tension, breathing is gonna amplify the tension. So wherever you are, I'm just gonna like invite you to move your body and to allow your body to experience something you've never done. So you can just follow my voice, you can just follow the image if you want, but I want to invite you to do something you've never done before. Maybe open up your hands wide out and just feel your skin stretching, and oh my God, this is a new sensation. And if you're really sensitive to like this kind of sensation, you can feel your skin tingling, right? And the more you come into your body, the more your body will speak to you. What I want to move, where I don't want to move, and just maybe just rotate to the side and stretch out. Now you can just see my armpit on the screen. I'll move out a little bit more. Just give a little side stretch and just go over there to the other side, right? We gotta be a bit creative with the Zoom screen. And if you feel you have the space, you can, stand up and do a little, what do you call it? Do you feel like you have space to stand? Okay, let's do it together. Okay, I'm gonna plug on. So now you're kind of standard. Now you kind of stand just to kind of, you can't really see my face, so I'm just gonna kind of walk you through this. Open up. Again, it's all about your comfort. So let your body tell you what works for you. So I'm just gonna invite us to just kind of widen our hip, to allow a little gentle bend into your hip and just kind of just bounce and just feel your own weight. So the beautiful thing about embodiment is the more time you spend with your body, the more the body will want to talk to you. So just allowing ourselves to feel our own weight and just take deep, gentle breaths here. And another beautiful thing about embodiment is the use of sound. So with every inhale, we take in through our nose, we exhale through our mouth with a sigh. And if you feel like your body just want to gently move with that exhaling sensation, just go for it. Just breathe in. You know what? I feel like my spine really wants to speak. It really wants to move because I sit a lot the whole day actually. So if you do the yoga pose where we're just gonna drop our whole body down, our crown to the floor, and just gently roll. We're gonna try to do that and disappear for like 2 seconds. Okay? So we just gently drop down and just hang out in there and feel the stretch on the back of your thighs and just slowly roll up. Slowly and expand. So the idea is just about breathing spaces into your body. So wherever it feels like it wants to move, just let it move and just breathe. That's kind of it. Okay, so we can gently come back down.
That was really nice, moving the body. I remember the first time when you invited me to a dance thing, I kind of like froze. Because it's like even the thought of moving my body is so awkward.
I hear you. I absolutely hear you. It is.
Yeah.
It is. I don't know if maybe we'll have space to talk about it later. But one of the reasons why I love dance so much is firstly, there is a connection for me. But the other thing I realized about dance is like I think maybe I've shared this energy with you, but the dance floor is just kind of like life. Like how you choose to show up on the dance floor is how you show up in life. Like if I'm comfortable with new things, do I just just bravely walk in and oh yeah man, I'm okay, but I'm really scared, or do I just find my way in, try to create safe spaces, hang out with this friend and
Yeah.
So everything we do on the dance floor, we mirror it in life. So what that also means, so if I feel uncomfortable or confident, it's gonna show up on the dance floor, right? Makes sense. So what that also means that whatever we want to change, we can do that on the dance floor, and that will kind of translate into our real life because it's in our muscle memory, it's like in our energetic bodies and everything. It's kind of the fun thing. Was everything we haven't worked out and stuff that we struggle with, we show up in our body too. Like the body is a reflection of all the choices you've made in life. Yeah. I think the fun thing about it is also that when we do it in person, we can kind of see each other and we kind of feel. And the amazing thing about people and group is that we do have an influence on each other. So I wanted to share a really short thing, like just a quick one. But as I got into it, I realized like, oh wait, my body want to do more. Come on, let's just like flow into it. It's like the beauty of the embodiment on the here and now, because I may come into something with an intention, but actually what's happening between you and me may be very different.
For that, we had such a wonderful, fun centering technique where we already started moving our body. And I was recalling the first time I met Wan Ting where, we use this word authentic relating. And it's so funny that my understanding of authentic relating of the how and Wan Ting's how is different. However, we share the same vision, which is to be connected with ourselves. So Wan Ting, can you share more about yourself? How would you describe yourself in a few attributes?
And I think the words that I would use to describe myself is, I feel like passion is one of them. But passion is a very interesting thing for me over the past years because it's been increasing, it's been decreasing as life goes by. But I think a core part of who I am is about the passion. It's about the love of life. It's the love of movement. And that comes out and shows a lot when I'm talking about things that I'm really excited about now. So hopefully you get to see my passion, but not get overwhelmed by it. The second word that I would probably use to describe myself is the word freedom. It's not something that I'm very conscious of, but it's after much time and reflection that I realized that I've always been looking for this thing called freedom. And for me, I think freedom means different things to different people. But for me, freedom for myself in my body is the ability to move however I want in my own body, the ability to be myself no matter where I am and who I am. And that is my intention, and also why I'm here to share that with people, that you have the freedom to be who you are, who you want to be. It's something I'm really, really passionate about also. And
Great.
lastly, the word that comes to mind, I don't know, the word that comes to me, it's advocate. I
Mm.
feel like I've played a lot of different roles in my life, but whenever I have the opportunity to, I think advocating is definitely one thing that I feel very deeply connected to. And before I arrived here, I've been doing work in kind of mental health. So the two things I've been advocating a lot is kind of mental health and aging on the professional front, but on the more personal front, it's the authenticity bit that we talk about. So yeah, this is kind of how I describe myself, unless you want more.
Wonderful, very beautiful. Yeah, and they're all linked, right? Like, I mean, to when you talk about passion, it's really
Mm,
passionate about these few key topics that you are advocating, which is mental health,
yeah,
aging, authenticity, and
yeah,
it's also linked with your the love of movement, the freedom to
yeah,
move your body. And as
yeah.
you share that, right, I'm really feeling very free.
Right,
Yeah, I feel
right.
really like relaxed and free and yeah, like I can really sense the flow that's going through me and
Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely, absolutely. Yeah.
I want to know like were you like this already when you were a child or it took some time for
Mm,
you to get to where you are, about the
mm,
fully passionate, fully advocating and
right,
the love for
right.
freedom.
I hear you. I think that's a good question, and I think that's a very important question. So to maybe give you a little background about myself, so I'm turning the big 30 today, this year, not today. I'm turning 30 this year. So I think I've kind of like
Oh,
not too short, not too long. No matter what age I am, I think it's always the perfect age. But I can be really honest with you. I think when I was younger, I often say that, I am a complete different person. And chances are people from my earlier years of my life, if they were to meet me today, they probably would recognize me. Right now, you're just seeing a part of me on Zoom screen,
yeah.
10, 20 minutes, but there's so much more to me that you probably will need a bit more time, a bit more space to know. But one thing that I can tell you that before a certain age, I wasn't quite like that. I was a very withdrawn, a very quiet, very low self-esteem and confidence. Like I can tell you, it's so bad that I can't talk to people and make eye contact, right? Like I'll be
Mm,
talking to you and I don't have you to look into, but I Zoom now. But
mm,
I would be looking everywhere but you. That was how uncomfortable it was. And I remember times where I would, because I always walk with my head on the floor, like not looking down. That's how I've always carried myself, to the point that I've walked into a tree before. So I literally walked in the tree. So in fact, what I can tell you is who I am today. Who you see is the exact opposite. And that
mm,
also kind of give insights that when I was younger, it was probably a more challenging childhood because I was living
mm,
the complete opposite of who I am. Right.
yes.
So it took me a series of steps before I came to be who I am today. So the journey
Mm,
was very long. It's still ongoing, but it's been really, really precious because I got so much things that, it just it cannot be taken away anymore.
mm,
So, and that's what I hope to share also on this podcast also.
mm,
So yeah, so no, I was a very different person when I was younger.
mm.
Yeah.
So, would you say someone shaped you to be who you are today, as well as, was there a reason why you were so
Hmm.
withdrawn and quiet when you were
Right.
younger?
This need to this question kind of bring me into a different mind space, and I'm trying to kind of go there and feel into it without going too deep in the story because I want to stay present with you, right? I think I've processed and worked through many things in the past couple of years, but I think one of the things that I felt was difficult for me was I felt that I lacked the acknowledgement in my life, right?
Hmm.
So the interesting thing about stories is that you can hear a story, like for example, I like to say like my pet goldfish died. To some people who hear it may like it's just a fish, like what's the big deal, right? But sometimes the person themselves experiencing it, it can mean very different things. And to me, I've always felt that my childhood on the surface it looks pretty good, like not too bad, just a bit more quiet and withdrawn. But there were many things that were going on inside me that made life a little bit more challenging. So for
Mm,
one, I was an empath. So like I'm not going to talk a lot about that, but I just a lot more sensitive, and I
mm,
feel things a lot more. And one of the things I've observed, through my own experiences and working with people with empathy, this quality is that, you know, we tend to take in a lot of things, a lot of energy, a lot of emotion. So what that meant that growing up was I was highly anxious. And it was often very confusing because chances were like, you know, I was experiencing a lot of things which I didn't understand where they were coming from. In fact, a good part of my life, I don't really have memory anymore. Like, you know, the body's just kind of shut and you don't have the access to that.
So you were describing, you know, when you were younger, I mean, the story that you have is that you lack the acknowledgement. That's why you were withdrawn and quiet.
All right.
Then, you know, were there some moments of awakening?
Right. Yeah, so that the challenging part was the non-acknowledgement, right? So that means that a lot of things in my life, I felt that I wasn't worthy. And I think we all struggle with I'm not worthy bit for a while. But I feel like the thing really landed for me when I was 18. So 18 was a magical number for me. If you're in numerology, it was also a universal year one that year. And there were just many things that happened in my life in that 1 year. So what happened was that, you know, I had problems at home, at school, at work, and it just made me it brought me to a very difficult space. So that was the year that I was also suicidal. And thank God I managed to came out, and you know, I told myself I don't want to go there again. But I think the changing point really came one day. I remember I was sitting in a canteen, and there was a lot of people. I've got my earphones on as always, just being by myself because I was alone there a lot, right? And this question just dawned on me, like, you know, who is Wan Ting? You know, and it was so a powerful question because all my life from primary school, secondary school onwards, I've always wanted to gain people like approval, acceptance, and belonging, right? So I would like behave in ways, I would talk in ways, I would act in ways that will get me attention or approval. And of course, they feel very miserable. Therefore, I continue to be miserable. But, you know, one day there's a combination of many factors, but I just realized that, you know, I tried to change myself so much to feel that I belong, to feel that I was accepted, that, you know, if in a certain situation, what would the real Wan Ting do? And I was completely blank out. Like, I have no idea what I would do because I was so busy trying to be someone else, right? And that landed really hard. And then after that question, I did a 180, right? Complete flip over. I just did whatever I want. I dressed in the ways I wanted, I sat in the way that I wanted, and I walked the way I wanted. And I still carry a little bit of that. Call it rebellious if you will. Works with the age, right? But of course that didn't work out too well. So it took me many years to finally come to this balanced sense of who I am. Like, you know, I don't want to change myself to blend in, but I don't want to just stand out on purpose because I didn't care about many things. That didn't work too. And I just needed to be comfortable with who I am. And, you know, movement really helped that because that is the one thing you'll be confronted the most with. The thing about the body is everything that you've not acknowledged, everything you stuff down, the anger, the grief, the sadness, they're always there. So every time we come into the body, you know, the stuff will come out. And just people can't sit with the body. You know, when I'm anxious, there's a feeling in the body that makes me feel very uncomfortable. But I always say there's a reason why the emotions are there. And it's about learning to know what they are telling you rather than say that, you know, emotions are bad, let's put them away.
I heard that, you know, you really reached to a stage, like it was a very low point where you think that this can't go on anymore, and you ask this question, who is Wan Ting? And then from then on, you kind of like experimented, or you have a choice, you change.
I just I'm done. Just throw it out and just, you know, let's move on. But that wasn't quite me.
But then where was that next point where you realized that, okay, hey, I shouldn't be standing out for the sake of standing out, and I need to care for other people's feelings?
Yeah. So if I could find a story, you know how sometimes, you know, like example in society, like, you know, like where we are, the environment, the things are happening, like, you know, it's not quite what we want. It's not the best situation. So sometimes I feel like there are two ways we can kind of react to it, respond to it. The first is that you accept what society give you and blend into it. So that's what I did in my early childhood. You know, I feel that I should be a certain person, and I changed myself to kind of fit in. But that was not quite right because, well, to be honest, society is quite dysfunctional. It's malfunctioning. It was doing, you know, it's passable, but now you see a lot of problem happening because, you know, we have not dealt with the real things, with we put like what we call it, the plasters, any plus over it, and say that's not a problem. And we don't want to talk about difficult topic. We don't want to talk about the not so nice stuff, right? So we can choose to. So what I did in my early years was that I accepted what society gave me or what was going on around me, and I blended in. It didn't work. And then the second phase of my life, I said like, to hell with it. I'm not gonna care. So I went the extreme way, and I literally did what I wanted. No one could tell me what to do. No one could. Well, but there was a lot of anger in me, which I didn't realize, in the earlier part of my journey, but came out a lot in the later part, which was super ugly. And that was a process I had to go through. That I was this angry person. But you know what? The beautiful part of the journey that I learned about anger, which I would love to share right now, because I'm so passionate about emotion and anger, is that all emotions are valid. And what anger tells you when they come up is that, hey, someone has crossed your boundary. Someone has done something to you that you do. It's probably not good for you. Do something about it. But society tells us that, why are you angry? Angry is bad. And I picked that up, and so I squashed it in, and it didn't work. So the second phase of my life, I just like rejected society completely, right? And there's the outward anger, which you see is like, trashing, throwing the table. But what about the anger that goes inward? Like, I'm worthless. I hate myself. I deserve to blah, blah, blah. That's kind of depression. If you think about it, right? So I went through my second phase, and then, things work out, things didn't work out. Dance a lot. I literally broken my body apart. I've got like traumas here. I've bruised my body. I went through like so much. Like, some people go to therapy for that. I did my therapy on the dance floor by breaking myself completely open, and that's what I did, because I put on so much layers of who I think I was that was inherited to me, given by my society, my family. I didn't know who I was. I just gotta break them all, and that was my process. But now I'm at that phase where I don't agree with what I'm seeing. What am I gonna do about it? And that's what I'm still trying to figure out. Like, I'm at the early stage of my journey, but I think I'm in a good space. A bit slow, but still in a good space. That's kind of how I see it.
I think these are very good breaking down of the different phases. I think the first is starting to realize that, okay, who am I? That's the first question, because then you realize that who I was before was actually just based on social conditioning and family expectations. And then you try to go the other way. And then, even though you mentioned that, you were doing your way, you realize there's anger in your body. And as well as you mentioned, you have a lot of self-negative talk. Is that correct? Things like, I hate myself and things like that.
Yeah, so you can manifest anger in different ways. So you can do it outward. So you throw tantrum, or whatever, very emotion dysregulated, or you can internalize anger. And if you're in the mental health field, we say that depression is so prevalent, and women tend to be more. There are more women that are more depressed than men, and because of the way society has socialized men and women to express their anger, it's not as okay for for women to express their anger. So many times it is internalized, and what you see a lot is passive aggressiveness, right? And I'll be really honest with you, I'm going to land a bomb right now, and I will stick by my gun, stick by my word. Is that I'll dare say, for anyone who work on themselves, kind of like, like the self-healing, coming home to yourself. I always tell my participants, the clients I work with, that if you are on a journey, if you're on a deep journey, a real journey to find yourself, to work with yourself, you will have to face anger. The anger is there because of all the years people tell you to be someone you're not. How can we accept that? We cannot accept that. I'm here to be myself and no one else. But everyone around you, even the people who love you, will tell you that they think it's for your interest. And it's also because they have their own process that they didn't go through, right? So we just keep on inheriting. That's why we have things like, intergeneration trauma that pass on from family to family. So I would tell you out there, if you're listening, you're on this journey, you will have to face anger. You can't run away from it. You can say that, I don't feel anger, but what will happen is you effectively shut down a part of yourself.